Julie Newmar is the most beautiful woman in the world, and her legs reach all the way to Chicago. Julie Newmar got a patent in 1977 that changed women's fashion forever, but that wasn't the most important thing she kept from people. Now that she is 91 years old, the original Catwoman is speaking out about the violent neighbor fight that cost her millions of dollars, the terrible attack she never reported, and why she disappeared when she was at the height of her fame. She has been scared to tell this story for 60 years. I was born on August 16, 1933, in Los Angeles. Judy Shalene Newmar was her real name. From the start, art, performing, and physical perfection were a big part of her life. In the 1920s, her dad, Don Newmar, played linebacker in the NFL. After that, he was put in charge of physical education at Los Angeles City College. He was tough, strict, and really into sports. Her mother, Helen Jasmer, was a dancer in the famous Ziegfeld Follies. People really looked up to her. She was one of the best showgirls of her time. Even the comedian Eddie Cantor once said she had the most beautiful legs in the Follies. Moving around and expressing herself were very important to Julie as a child. Her father played sports and her mother worked on stage, so she was the perfect mix of creative and disciplined. From a very young age, she was surrounded by music, dance, and exercise. The Swedish-French background of her mother also gave her a unique culture background. Julie took it all in. She was smart, beautiful, and eager to do well for herself. She was done with high school by the time she was 15. Julie was already making plans for the future, while most teens were still thinking about theirs. In the same year, she went on a trip with her mother and brother across Europe. It was an event that opened my eyes. She saw the beautiful history of Italy and the big shows of Paris. She saw and heard different kinds of art, music, and dance. There was a lot going on during this trip. It wasn't just a holiday. It changed the way she dressed, what she liked, and how she held herself. She became a prima dancer for the Los Angeles Opera when she got back home. Even for someone her age, this was a big accomplishment. Ballet needed a lot of discipline. It required strength in both body and mind. Julie felt it all the way. Every show she did made her skills better, and every move she made her body stronger. She wasn't just learning to dance, she was preparing for a lifetime of performance. But dancing was just the start. Julie really wanted to learn, so she signed up to go to UCLA. She learned French, classical music, and philosophy. She loved culture and had a sharp mind, but after only 6 weeks, she felt drawn to something greater. She knew that she belonged in the world of shows, not in a classroom. She did something brave and quit school. She began working at Universal Studios as a dancer and director when she was 19 years old. That's what she really learned. She didn't just act, she also learned how movies were made, how movement worked behind the scenes, and how to be the center of attention on screen. Julie Newmar got her start in Hollywood by dancing. Prior to her fame, she danced in movies and was known for her graceful and sure steps. An important part she will always remember was in Serpent of the Nile in 1953. She played the Golden Girl, covered in gold paint from head to toe. The movie, which starred Rhonda Fleming and Raymond Burr, was a historical drama about Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Newmar didn't have a big part, but her golden look stuck with people. In those years, she had a lot of short parts, and each one helped her learn. In the same year, Slaves of Babylon, she played a dancer assassin, which sounds like more than just a pretty role. She also danced with famous people like Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse in The Bandwagon, one of the best shows ever made in Hollywood. She got to work with some of the biggest names in show business because of these parts. She was already dancing and making dance moves at Universal Studios when she was only 19. She was smart and talented at the same time. Hollywood was very competitive, and a lot of artists got lost in the crowd. It wasn't Newmar. She stood out because of how beautiful she was and how well she could get people's attention. The next show was Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which came out in 1954 and is still a classic. Some of the seven wives were played by her. The movie was known for its lively dance scenes, which were directed by Michael Kidd, and Newmar's skills were perfect for the part. She looked like she belonged in front of the camera with every move and scene. The 1950s were a great time for Hollywood shows. Her movies like Oklahoma and Singing in the Rain had already made things possible. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers was like them in that it had exciting storylines and fast-paced dance moves. The group did dances that were hard on their bodies and mixed ballet, jazz, and folk dance. It wasn't the lead part for Newmar, but it was enough to show that she was special. Her next step was to go to Broadway. She made her stage debut in Silk Stockings, a musical with Hildegard Knef and Don Ameche, in 1955. She played Vera, a ballerina, which was a part that was made for her. The live show was different from the movie. There were no cuts or second takes. There was just the crowd and the stage. It was hard, but she did great at it. In 1956, she played a part that would make or break her Broadway career. The role she played was Stupefying Jones in Lil Abner, a show based on the well-known comic strip. It didn't matter that her character didn't say much. Beautiful Jones was meant to be remembered for a long time, and Newmar made sure she was. People couldn't stop talking about her, even though she was only there for 3 minutes. Critics liked how she looked. She didn't just act the part, she became it. Little Abner fit right in with how Broadway was changing. The bar was being raised by musicals like West Side Story and My Fair Lady. The tone of Lil Abner was lighter and funny, but it still stuck out. So good was Newmar's performance that when the show was turned into a movie in 1959, she was asked to play the same part again. She had more fame in the theater after that. In 1958, she tried something new with The Marriage Go Round. In a performance that was both funny and seductive, she played the Swedish temptress Katrinsve. People had always been interested in her, but now she was showing that she could do more than just be there to keep their attention. After that, she won the most important award in her career, the Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in a Play. It was a big change. She did more than just dance. She was more than just beautiful on stage. She was famous. It meant more than just getting noticed that she won a Tony. It meant she had arrived. It meant that all the small parts, dance acts, and hard work had paid off with something bigger. She had shown that she was more than just pretty, she could play. She was able to fascinate. She was great in every part she played. Her work kept getting better. Later, The Marriage Go Round was made into a movie in 1961, and she played Katrine Sveg again, this time with James Mason and Susan Hayward. The change from stage to screen went smoothly. Whether she was on stage or in a movie, she made every scene feel like it was hers. That same year, she played Miss Devlin on The Twilight Zone in the episode Of Late I Think of Cliffordville. The stories on that show were always weird and made you think, and her part was no different. She played a strange woman with a dark side, and she said her lines with a calm yet creepy charm. Just having her there made the character stand out. People who watched the show still remember her act, not just the story, but also how she played it. Another part was in the TV show Route 66, which was about a road trip across America. There were 2 shows of her in 1962. She played Vicki Russell, a rich and daring woman who was more than just pretty. It wasn't enough to just respect her. She had a personality, wit, and a strong sense of independence that set her apart from typical women of that time. From these early roles, it was clear that she was more than just a pretty face. She could bring any character to life. The next show was My Living Doll, which should have done better. The show ran from 1964 to 1965 and was set in the future and was funny. Rhoda was a lifelike robot that Newmar played. It was made to be the perfect lady. But she didn't make her stiff and mechanical. Instead, she gave the character a fluid, almost hypnotic air. Because she had trained in dance and mime, she was able to move in a way that seemed just off enough to be real. President of CBS James T. Aubrey personally picked her for the part because he knew she could make it great, and she did. She made Rhoda charming by mixing humor and innocence in a way that kept people laughing. But there were problems with the show. It was shown at the wrong time, right after Bonanza, which is one of the most popular shows on TV. That hurt its hopes on its own. Then her co-star, Bob Cummings, quit the show after 21 episodes. His personal problems, including alleged drug problems, made it so that the show couldn't go on without him. Fans still watch My Living Doll, even though it was only on for one season. People remember Newmar's performance because she gave a character that could have been one-dimensional something special. It showed that she could make parts memorable. It was 1966 when Batman came out. This was the part that made her famous. Her performance as Catwoman was very different from what it was before she played it. Catwoman was just another bad guy in comic books before she did that. After that, she became an icon. Before she was cast, she had never heard of Catwoman, but she knew exactly how to play the part as soon as she saw what it could be. She made the character flirty, funny, and hard to guess. It was exciting how she matched up with Adam West's Batman. Every scene they were in had a fun energy that kept people interested. She was more than just an enemy for Batman to fight. People wanted to see more of her. Every Catwoman movie that came after Newmar's was based on how popular her story was. Women who played the part, like Michelle Pfeiffer and Anne Hathaway, gave it their own style, but the groundwork had already been laid. Catwoman is not just a bad guy because of her. She gave her charm, wit, and a sense of humor. Even after her performance, she had an effect on people. She changed her outfit, too. She thought it would look better if it sat lower on the hips than with the belt at the waist. The outfit stood out because of the small change. It made the look more stylish, sleek, and recognizable. That choice became famous in the history of TV. Her first Catwoman costume is now kept safe at the Smithsonian Institution. It brings to mind how important she was to pop culture in general, not just the show. Julie Newmar did more than just play Catwoman. She really lived the part. She had danced before, so she knew how to make Catwoman feel stronger, more mysterious, and more dangerous by moving her body. She wasn't just saying words. She made scenes happen. Catwoman trying to get Batman to fall in love with her was one of the most famous parts of the 1960s Batman show. She moved around him like she had full control, teasing him while planning in secret to use her perfume to poison him. Every step she took, every look she gave, and every change in her stance was just right. Even so, there were no practice runs. They weren't needed by her. She had been dancing for years and knew how to move easily and hit every mark without thinking. That was what made the scene so memorable. It looked like it came naturally. It seemed real. That wasn't the only scene she planned. During another, she slid down a wall and told Batman she loved him. That was just a trick to make things worse between him and Robin. One 3-minute take was used to film the whole scene. It took skill and courage to make that kind of shot, but she did it without any issues. She was good at making everything look natural and smooth. Simple moves could be made into something fun, seductive, and memorable. People loved how she played Catwoman. It wasn't easy to play the part, though. The sleek black lurex catsuit that made her look so stunning was too tight and hurt her. It wasn't very stretchy, so it was tough to move. These heavy metal claws she wore didn't just look good, they hurt her hands sometimes. She didn't let any of that slow her down, though. She did many of the stunts herself because she thought it made the character seem more real. She had problems, but she got through them because she knew every second on screen was important. She was great in the part, but she didn't come back for the third season. She had already agreed to work on another project, which was a movie called Mira Loco. She had no idea that the movie would keep going on and on. She missed out on the chance to keep playing Catwoman because of that choice. The part was then given to Eartha Kitt, who made it her own with her own style. Julie Newmar's life was full of love, loss, and strength. She went to Fort Worth, Texas with her new husband, lawyer J. Holt Smith, in 1977. They wanted to start a family, but the process was very hard. Julie had 3 losses, and each one hurt because it showed her how fragile life can be. But she had her son, John Jules Smith, in 1981, when she was 48 years old. He coming into her life felt like a gift after everything she had been through. Everything changed when I became a mother. 3 years after he was born, John lost his hearing because of meningitis. He had Down syndrome. There were tough times, but Julie never thought of her boy as a burden. She said that he taught her the most about loving others no matter what. She thought that kids with special needs were gifts, not problems. She helped John be creative and backed his love of art. Even exhibitions put his work on display, which made her very happy. While raising John brought her a lot of happiness, it put stress on her marriage. It can be hard to handle the burden of taking care of a child with special needs. Julie and J. Holt Smith split up in 1984, just 3 years after John was born. Julie was still totally attached to her son, even though this happened. She put her job on hold so she could be the best mother she could be. Julie had another terrible loss a long time before John was born. Peter, her younger brother, died in a skiing accident in 1962. He was only 30 years old. No one in his family saw his death coming. It happened so quickly. Julie loved Peter very much. He was funny, good-looking, and full of life. The hole he left behind will never go away. John, her bigger brother and someone who had always been there for her, was also hit hard. Julie was becoming more famous in Hollywood at the time. She already had a name for herself in movies like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Soon, she'd play Catwoman in the Batman series, which is her most well-known part. Peter's death was a hurt that never fully healed. Even though she was getting more and more successful, John, her brother, was very important to her. He told her she should play Catwoman because he knew she would be a great fit. Through all of life's ups and downs, they stayed close. Julie's life was shaped by love, loss, and the will to keep going. Julie Newmar was famous for playing Catwoman in the Batman TV show in the 1960s, but she was good at a lot more than just acting. She came up with new ideas and had a great sense of style. She was also good at business and sell her ideas, and she invested in real estate and changed neighborhoods. Real life, she was always planning ahead and making things. On TV, she was just playing a part. She had an idea in the 1970s that changed the underwear business. She saw that most pantyhose made women's curves look less defined instead of more defined. She didn't understand why someone would wear something that went against their body instead of with it. She wanted a style that would lift and shape women and make them feel good about themselves. It was known as cheeky derriere relief by her. In 1977, she got her first invention. It had a shaping band that went from the buttocks to the belt and fit between them to make the body look more sculpted. The idea was easy to understand and smart. Her second patent was better than the first because it used a mix of nylon and lycra to make sure that the pantyhose would stay supportive and comfy even after being washed several times. She started her own brand called Newmar, which was based on her name, and started advertising it right away. People were drawn to her because of her attitude and charm. She said about her pantyhose in an interview with People magazine in 1977, "They make your derriere look like an apple instead of a ham sandwich." That one line became associated with the brand. But she didn't just come up with tights. She also made a brassiere with secret straps that were based on Marilyn Monroe's easygoing style. She wanted underwear that was both pretty and useful, something that would look good under any outfit. She was good at making things and selling them in more than one area. In the 1980s, she took on a completely different challenge. She bought a house. Other people didn't see the possibility. She did. She didn't just buy houses to sell them. Instead, she worked on making whole neighborhoods better. At the time, parts of Los Angeles like La Brea Avenue and Fairfax Avenue were having a hard time. Newmar saw their beauty, their past, and the chance they had. She fixed up old buildings instead of tearing them down, saving their beauty while making them fit today's needs. She thought that a neighborhood should stay the same even as it changed. Besides making homes worth more, her work made these places livelier and friendlier. Julie Newmar, who played Catwoman in the 1960s TV show Batman, had a nasty fight with her neighbor Jim Belushi. A small disagreement about noise and property quickly turned into a long-lasting court case. Belushi, who is best known for, according to Jim, said that Newmar was trying to get him to leave the neighborhood. He said she broke his fence, messed with his yard, and spread lies about him to make him look bad. He also said she watched his family and played loud music to bother him. Newmar had her own story to tell. The real problem, she said, was Belushi. His loud parties and constant noise made it impossible for her to relax in her own house. She even bought earplugs for air traffic controllers just to block out the noise. She also said that he had changed things about the land that blocked her natural light. Things were getting worse between them. Others saw Belushi as a mean person, while others thought Newmar was strange. When Belushi sued her for $4 million in 2004, things really heated up. He said she was harassing him, spreading lies, and damaging property. The case went on for a long time. The lawyer for Belushi said the case was too big to settle without a fight. The lawyer for Newmar pushed for compromise. Things didn't change for months. Then, a strange thing happened in 2006. All of a sudden, they said the fight was over. Newmar even made a guest appearance on According to Jim, which was a strange turn of events. Newmar dropped the case. It wasn't a normal way to end a war. Their fight was still one of the strangest neighborly issues in Hollywood after everything was over. But Newmar had a much worse story to tell. She had a traumatic event early in her career while she was working at the Actors Studio. The school was famous for its tough method acting classes. The students were made to feel very bad. At one practice, things got out of hand and her scene partner hit her. What happened shocked and upset me so much, but she didn't say anything. She kept quiet. At that time, Hollywood wasn't a safe place for artists, especially women, to talk about their problems. People didn't talk much about abuse or bad treatment in the 1960s and 1970s. A scandal could ruin an actor's career even if they were the one who did something wrong. Like many other people, Newmar hid her pain. Even so, she kept moving forward. She became famous for her unforgettable part as Catwoman. Behind the scenes, she had seen the bad sides of the business. On screen, she played strong, sure of themselves women. When Julie Newmar came back as Catwoman in Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders, it was like old times. The cartoon movie, which came out on October 10, 2016, brought her back together with Burt Ward and Adam West. It brought back the fun vibe of the Batman TV show from the 1960s. When Catwoman, the Joker, the Penguin, and the Riddler got together to steal the replication ray, they did it in style. The plan looked great, but Catwoman had other ideas. She tried to control Batman by making him turn against his friends with Batnip. Things took a strange turn, though, when the other bad guys found out she still liked Batman and betrayed her. Fans of the original show loved everything about this movie: the over-the-top fight scenes, the bright colors, and how Batman always seemed to have the funniest gadgets on hand at the right time. It was first shown at New York Comic Con on October 6 and then made available digitally on October 11. On November 1, DVD and Blu-ray copies came out. Critics and fans alike said it was great because it stayed true to the original series. Even after all these years, Newmar's performance as Catwoman was still memorable. With just the right amount of charm, wit, and fun, she played the part. Because of her part in the movie, Batman vs. Two-Face came out in 2017 as a follow-up. Adam West died before the movie came out, so it was his last appearance as Batman. Newmar was very happy with the experience and said she loved playing Catwoman again and showing she to a new generation. She had an effect on more than just Batman. It was a surprise when in 1995 she was in a movie that paid tribute to her memory. Thanks for everything, Wong Fu. Wow. It was a comedy about three drag queens on a road trip. Wesley Snipes, Patrick Swayze, and John Leguizamo played the queens. The title of the movie came from a picture of Newmar that the characters took around with them as a source of inspiration. In the very last scene, she showed up as herself, as a surprise appearance. Chichi Rodriguez was named Drag Queen of the Year by her. It was more than just a fun moment. Her appearance drew a link between Hollywood glitz and the world of drag, at a time when LGBTQ+ people were underrepresented in popular movies.